sharing this with you all because it's breaking news. It is moving the market significantly, and it's a little bit more than a rumor. Bloomberg just broke a story, and the headline is Trump is likely to fire Powell soon, according to the White House. Okay, let's go through the story. You could see the markets while I'm going through it, so we'll just go through the story for you. And I'll have some commentary later, just reading it dryly. President Trump is likely to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell soon, a White House office said, and discussed the possible move in a meeting with congressional Republicans on Tuesday night. While the lawmakers voiced support for the move, which would likely roil financial markets and lead to a consequential legal showdown, Trump has not made a final decision and could change his mind, according to the official who requested anonymity to discuss a private conversation. The Fed declined to comment. I'll keep reading here. The S&P 500 quickly erased a modest gain and was down 0.4% as of 11:22 a.m. in New York, about 1% below its all-time high. The Bloomberg Dollar Index sold off on the news, falling the most since late June on an intraday basis. All G10 currencies advanced, led by the Japanese yen, which rose more than 1% at one point before pairing gains. The president has repeatedly expressed frustration over the central bank's decision to hold interest rates steady, and administration officials have confirmed in recent days that the process to select a successor to Powell, whose term as chair isn't set to expire until May 26, is underway. Trump made the comments in a meeting with GOP lawmakers who voted against cryptocurrency legislation earlier Tuesday. The remarks were first reported by CBS News. I'm going to skip the rest of this, but I'll just quote one person. Anna Paulina Luna said, "I'm 99% sure firing of Powell is imminent." Now, she's a Florida Republican who was among the holdouts on the cryptocurrency bill, and she put that out on social media. Now, there's a lot of, all right, let me just keep reading before I give opinions here, right? Nice to have an opinion, and I'm going to read you a little bit from Zero Hedge, which gives you context. They've actually got really good at this shit. Initially, CBS reported that President Trump spoke to a group of GOP lawmakers about firing Fed Chair Powell, and markets reacted modestly. But now Bloomberg reports that a White House official confirms Powell's ouster is imminent. While the lawmakers voiced support for the move, which would likely roil financial markets and lead to a consequential legal showdown, Trump has not made a final decision. So they're paraphrasing the Bloomberg article for that part there. In recent days, Trump has lambasted Powell over renovations at the central bank. This is actually kind of key, that the president and his allies have seized on, arguing that the work has been plagued by cost overruns and is exorbitantly lavish for a government office. Trump suggested that his renovation costs were pretty disgraceful. Asked if it was a fireable offense by reporters on Tuesday, Trump responded, "I think it sort of is," but stopped short of saying he planned to push out the Fed chief over the flat. "I think he's a total stiff, but the one thing I don't see him as is the guy that needed a palace to live in." Okay, so the rest of that is the Zero Hedge post is charts showing you what's going on. And we're going to go through those here. So let's go through the markets, and then I'll give you a take that's going to throw a little water on this, but very happy at how the markets are responding. All right, so the charts you're looking at there are the 1 hour intraday charts. 10-year yields rallied, signifying selling of bonds, a loss of confidence in U.S. stability. The dollar dropped 70, indicating a a move to liquidate dollar holdings. The reason those two together, taken together, are important, I'm just going to say this to you in the context, is when the dollar goes up, that's usually accompanied with yields dropping. People take their money out of bonds and put them into cash or dollars. However, in this instance, people are taking their money out of bonds, rolling them into cash, and then taking the cash and rolling it into their own currencies. So whatever the result of this, it's another knife wound to the credibility of the US as stable. Okay, moving on. The S&P 500 dropped significantly. Wasn't really down, but it dropped significantly on the day from about 62.55 to as low as 6,200. So that's a 60 handle move on the day, on the hour, I should say. Geez, that's pretty big. Anyway, but it's undoing some of that sell-off. Now we move on to gold. The gold rallied as much as $45. Now it's up $35. For context, that yellow line you see there, that's the middle of the range. So if this is real, gold could rally $150 and still be in the range. You follow? So I'm not saying that it's not a buy, and I'm not saying that it's not good that it's rallying. I am saying this. This is shorts covering. Hopefully it's not longs getting in. If it's shorts covering, then longs can get in later on. But if it's longs getting in, well, then that's stupid hot money, and we don't want that. I'm going to pull silver up here. Silver, praise the Lord, did what I needed it to do. I mentioned this morning that I'd like to see it get up to 3,800. $38. I don't care the reason. I just care that it's up there now, right? We're looking as a chartist here, and I would say I get more constructive above 38.08. But I think it's safe to say that if you're short this market or underinvested in it, you're not going to sell it short anymore. It's just every time gold takes its foot off the throat of shorts, some other news item happens and it just starts all over again. So we're in an era of instability or destability, depending on how you look at it. So you are going to see, if this is the case, if this news continues, you will see both metals rally, and likely you will see silver rally less than you would expect. So gold's up 1%, silver's up 1%, not gold's up 1%, silver's up 3%. You won't get that because this is about flight to safety. Keep this in mind too. If people are selling dollars to buy their own currency, look, if I'm a European and I think that there's instability in the US or less stability, I'm going to sell dollars and put that money into my own currency or put my money into gold. I'm not going to put it into silver. So silver will suffer on news like this relative to gold, but it will go up. Okay, copper. Let me pull that up. You always got to look at the industrials too. So copper's rallied. Why? Because people are short. There's no reason for it. There's just idiots going, oh shit, let me just cover my shorts and everything. Not to mention the dollar is weaker. Okay. Oil, that could do its own thing here. Oil, yeah, pretty much unchanged on the hour, right? So it's not geopolitical. It's funny because the world used to look to the US for safety. And so there were two types of geopolitical problems: Middle Eastern war or European financial crisis. Now you've got American political crisis. Anyway, you can thank Trump for that. And I mean that literally. It's good for us. We need to clean this shit out anyway. All right, natural gas. I don't think there's anything there for natural gas. Bitcoin probably rallied on the news. Yeah, Bitcoin rallied, but stable. It's backing off, right? Right? Palladium, right? Not news related. Platinum, not new. So when there's news like this, which we're going through right now, you want to look at two things in terms of behavior. You want to see what moves more than you expected, what moves less than you expected. And what moves more than you expected is probably a comment on how many shorts are in the market. Oh shit, we got caught flat-footed. Let me take care of this. What moved less than you expected means there's probably too many longs in the market, right? So the dollar, I have no opinion on. Gold, I think, moved appropriately. Not too much, not too little. Silver, that's short covering, and it didn't move more than I expected. But it's certainly, I don't think longs are buying silver right now with a news item like this. Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin rallied. That's a little bit of hot money coming in. Look at Ethereum. Now, here's one. I have this on here, don't I? I'm long Ethereum. I'm surprised I don't have it on this list. I used to. Yeah, so Ethereum has been strong all day, and that's not because of the Powell thing. That's because of Peter Thiel threw some money, bought 9% of a company called, I forget what it's called, but it's Ethereum based, like Bitmine something. And so that's bullish for Ethereum. Okay, so there's the charts. Let's just go out to the daily and focus on gold and silver now, right? Gold, there you go. We're in the middle. We're nowhere. I'm not saying it's noise, but I'm saying we're nowhere. A lot of people are flat gold right now. Silver, just enough to get us back into legitimate territory. I want us to stay at 38. We're backing off right now, and that's kind of sad. The dollar. Well, the dollar had a short covering rally. Most of it was yen related, and now the dollar is backing off. And if you're looking at this from a Tom DeMark point of view, the 8s and 9s there, that's a sign of overbought. So maybe we're still in a big downtrend that's like, bear flag, bear flag, bear flag, bear flag. Maybe, it's hard to say, but maybe the dollar does want to go even lower. Hard to say. All right. It certainly reacted very strongly to this, which brings me actually to the Deutsche Bank analyst. So this is George Saravelos, if I'm saying his name right. If you remember, this is the guy who earlier in the year, I was talking about something that I was worried about as a worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is when bonds, the dollar, and stocks drop at the same time. That means people aren't rotating out of stocks into bonds. That means people rotating out of stocks into bonds, out of bonds into dollars, out of dollars into their own currency. And that would be a sign of a loss of faith in the US as a safe haven. You will also maybe remember during that time, I pretty much nailed it. I didn't nail it. I said, this is a risk. It's a very small risk, but watch for it. And then it kind of blew up as a trade, not as a real risk. And then right about the same time, Europe started piling on this risk. Tom Luongo had seen it that way. And he was right, because all the European banks were piling on the US saying the dollar is not safe. And so what they started doing is they started buying treasuries. They didn't sell the treasuries like they were threatening to. They bought treasuries and hedged the dollar risk, which is normally unlike them. So they did that. So Saravelos was kind of cool in seeing that. And he's the guy who put out What Happens If Trump Gets Power. I think the title of his is What If? And I sent the actual report to founders. But here it is, properly broken down and explained. All right. So the short story is, as I mentioned at the beginning, the White House thinks that Powell can be fired for cause, which he can be. And the cause, litigiously speaking, Trump's a litigious person, is, hey, he either lied under oath, or he talked about renovations in an irresponsible way. I don't know. But here, let me just. So Saravelos, political pressure, backdrop, markets are not pricing the risk properly. That's his assessment. Institutional credibility at stake. That's the U.S. That's the Europe. Hey, the U.S. sucks comment. So, take it with a grain of salt. Expected reaction in dollar rates. There you go. I mean, he's gaming it out, right? Equities, ambiguous and political, follow through hinges on two critical factors: Fed institutional response and macro backdrop. Okay, so there's uh, structural premium and final assessment. You can read that post. I'll include the link in there as well. Uh, so now we'll move into my take, right? I don't think. I should not have an opinion on this, right? But I don't think Powell gets fired because of this. I don't think they can fire Powell. Even on a technicality, it becomes a litigious situation. You don't fire him. All you do is you create uncertainty. Now, as much of a nutcase, sometimes for the right reason, Trump is, he's doing what he always does. There are several ways that he will test the waters. One way is he'll just come out and say, "I'm tariffing you," right? That's the over the top. Let's see how the market reacts to it. He's really kind of taking the pulse of his popularity and of who the weaker countries are. You remember when he started the tariff thing? That was something he did. I'm thinking about tariff for everyone a billion percent. And that makes the weak countries come knocking on your door right away. It's a negotiation tactic, right? And that's something he does. Another thing that he will do is he will say the same thing, but softer, trying to make it look like he's not really saying it. I don't know. I've heard some things, which is something that, people do when they want to kind of outsource it. Look, it's kind of like when you read someone's story and they say, "I have a secret source," it's the same idea, right? And that's kind of what he's doing now. And he's like, I heard some things. Like, for example, you'll see him do it with Putin a lot. Um, um, he'll say, what will he say? He'll say, "I'm not really liking what I see over there. I'm hearing some bad things about what Putin's doing." Same idea. And then the third way is where he just comes out and says nothing. And Bessent says what he's going to do. And then he says, "Yep, that's what I'm going to do." And usually that's when it gets done. So I think Trump is just testing the waters. And the reason I think this, here's the reason I think this, is only because he's got people in the White House doing it now. What's his name? Pulte? Uh, that guy, federal board of home, the Fed homeowners, the Fed, not homeowners, but federal housing. Uh, you know, I mean, I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of political leaders, you know, uh, just doing Trump's bidding to be his what do you want to call it, attack dog. But it's happening, and it's not like he's doing anything wrong. He's just doing something that's uh, hasn't been done before, and that's Trump's style. Everyone does it. He's going to say, "Well, if you're allowed to do it, I'm going to do it too. And when I do it, you're going to know about it. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be, something you can dismiss. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to do it. So anyway, my point is this Pulte guy has been, I think it's Pulte. He's been saying, I'm hearing Powell resign. I'm hearing is the same way of saying I have secret sources. Or when Trump says, "I don't know, I've heard about that." But now you've got other White House officials saying it. So uh, these are stirring the shit up. Now, there are, from this type of behavior, knowing, I'm not calling it a bluff, but knowing that it's uh, not definitive, a couple things usually happen when it comes to Trump. Either he backs off, or he gets results, right? That's the simple answer. Well, in this case, backing off is what he can do because he's not saying it now. He's a White House person saying it. So the people around him lose credibility, not him. And then he changes the subject. I mean, he just did it with Epstein. I can't believe you're still talking about him. So, he's a master of uh, of controlling the media because they want ratings, and so they're going to keep typing or writing what he says. And so he knows that, and he's in the most powerful position in the world. And so he's using that to his advantage, however you want to look at it. He's a shit stirrer. That's his type of thing. So, but here's the unintended consequence. I believe Powell is committed to his position without liking him or not liking him for the remainder of his term. I believe Powell knows he's not going to be fired. I believe, or a very little chance of it, for good for on grounds. And I believe Powell wants to do his job. I also believe that Powell is human, and because he's human, at some point, although it would be a disgraceful thing to do, in my opinion, at some point he could say, "Fuck it, I don't need this shit anymore," and just quit. You know. So everything Trump's been doing has been kind of like Chinese water torture. I'm moving forward uh, the replacement search. That's in the news, right? I think he's breaking the law. That's in the news. I think he should resign. That's in the news. And then, of course, the everyday too late pal. And that's it. And I think it's the tail risk. The tail risk is that Powell says, "Fuck it, I give up." Right? Anyway, so I'm setting this out now. I will put the link to this story in here again, this one that I have on the screen right now, and then I will give you some a reasonable summary of the Bloomberg. Actually, I read the Bloomberg story. You don't need to. Fuck that. Here, I'll just put it here. Here you go. Right, I'll put it on your screen for you. Ready? Ready? There's page 1, page 2. You just freeze your screen like I do when I'm looking at other people's stuff. And that's it. And we're done. Let's take a look at, there you go. And gold's giving it back. See, these are rumors, these are shit stirring things. And, I believe what Trump's doing may win him a battle, and it may not win him a battle, but it definitely undermines us as a reserve currency. Okay, it undermines us as, look. It's not Trump. I mean, just speaking outside of my topic here, it's not Trump I'm worried about. It's the next guy who comes in who's got the mindset of Obama, meaning I'm a messiah, who sees what Trump said, what Trump did, and said, "Oh, I could do that too, but I can save the country," and that would wreck us. It's the guy after Trump I'm worried about. Trump, he's a known quantity, right? I mean, I look and I go, did I go out and buy gold because Trump said that? No, I didn't do that, but some other idiot did, Anyway, so there you go. And now silver's down to only up 6 cents. That's bad. So that means shorts covered and some people got long. And let's see what happens the other way. Now, I don't think anyone's going to sell gold. But silver might take it on the chin now. That sucks. All right. But look at the dollar. Here, I'll give you an example. Look at the dollar. Go to the hourly. Right? Okay, the dollar's going to rally again. Now I'll tell you this. Down here, there were some shorts that sold it. And unless Trump hits us with more news, escalating news, then I don't think you're going to have he knows how to keep the news on looking at him. That's it.